Hi everybody, this is Joanna. How is everybody doing? How is everybody? I'm just closing out some programs I got going on here. Just preparing my... How is everybody? Great, good. Today we're going to talk more about the soul. We're going to talk more about how beautiful and profound the soul is. Oh, I've got so much open here. The soul is so profound. The soul is the ultimate allness of all that we are in our creative experience in the physical form, that as we awaken, we get to call these aspects forward in all that we manifest and we co-create. Through this unity of who we are as the soul, we become that higher self. We become that ever higher self that keeps spiraling into ever higher cycles of becoming. We're in a constant state of becoming. We're constantly allowing ourselves to heal what was. In this now moment, we get to script and co-create where we choose to go. We get to write that new story. We get to write who we are and who we are becoming through this now vibration. But it does require the sometimes and oftentimes painful and challenging journey of healing all that we've been. In the healing of all that we've been, we allow ourselves, if we so choose, to pull the lessons from those experiences. And the most challenging part is to step off of those cycles of co-creation, to take the lessons and let those cycles go. That way we're using the now wisdom to start these new inspirations of these new energy codes that were always being offered. And it is a multidimensional process. It's the physical, mental, emotional, etheric healing and now moment, who do I choose to be? Who do I choose to experience myself as? What is it that I choose to explore and co-create with Source Creator, the all that is, within my collective, so that I get to know who I what was and where do I want to go. And that's the expression of this constant becoming, this constant state of becoming. And as the creators had shown me, is that any suffering and any pain that we move through is temporary, because there is only love. The soul's experience, why we move through the various bodies and dimensions and planets and experiences that we do, is because that soul wants that expression. That soul wants to know that no matter how dark and how oppressive something may feel, they're illusions. They're illusions in the programs that we have played, and why we've come to co-create these experiences with the ones that we do, because they allow us to trigger those psyche wounds. They allow us to trigger the deepest parts of ourselves that need that healing. And why sometimes those cycles of such deep oppression, especially when we've come from deep systems of dogma, deep systems of entrainment, of limitation. Entrainment is the way of becoming over eons of time. You can entrain positive and you can entrain negative. And so dogma is an example of historically entrained limitation of sects of beliefs. And is it really purposeful to the evolution of humanity to remain in limiting beliefs and practices? It's all valid. It's all one. There's no judgment on any of it. But as we evolve as a species, everything in the socio-economic systems, in every way, nothing will be left out. Light touches everything, and everything will be transmuted. And everything will go through its own process of transformation. And of course, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a long, ongoing, constant state of becoming, as we are the micro-macro holographic experience that is light. We each get to choose, and we each have our own temperament. We each have our own speed through which each and every one of us moves through this ascension process. Through the wholeness of all that we are as multidimensional beings, especially on this planet, because of the systems and the programs that we're here to heal, it's important that we allow ourselves in dynamic times of change to center and resonate from that higher self perspective, so that you can create that neutrality. That neutrality allows you to put distance, spatial distance, if you will. As I always speak truth, my throat clears. And why it's always important to express your truths of your wisdoms and your own infinite genius. And that neutrality allows you to put distance so that you can choose from that higher perspective with your teams and your guides and your soul that's living through you, those beautiful experiences of all that you are becoming. And when you see me do this, I'm tuning in with the teams that are already flowing through me. There's infinite number of beings and consciousness that flow through me, and I'm allowing this experience in by pressing gratitude to them and honoring my wholeness. And so often, sometimes, and I'm also doing it as a clearing. And so I'm allowing these constant energies of greatness through me. The soul is profound, great, and infinite. We're constantly pressing up and calling in and pressing out. And through that process of our own state of becoming and how we do that is unique to each and every one of us. And there's so many people that are awakening, so many masters that have come forward to teach awakening process. There is no one way, there is no right way. Every person will go through their own temperament, their speed, their own unique dynamic, because every unique person's and soul's path within their journey with source, that's what ascension is. Awakening to know that you were more than you were yesterday. And every moment of awakening holds a unique path of potentiation. There's an infinite number of choices that anyone can take. And any choice that is made allows that growth of that soul to know whether, well, I'm not going to go down that path again. That was much too painful and harmful. I'm going to go do this now. That is the free will and sovereignty that we are each growing into. This, however, triggers those many systems and egoic energies through separation, fear, and greed, and various systems of limitation that we are now triggering to be healed. And one of them that I've been working with for about a year now, many years with the collective children, is the understanding of unity, oneness, and all equality, and everything being brought up to a new balance. And it's threaded in everything. Everything that humanity is healing, the understanding of bringing it all up to an equal state of oneness. We are all one. The illusion that we're not one is just those systems of density that we each come with. It's the innate truth. We are one. And if one experiences not oneness, then that's their system of healing that they need to go through until they reach that state of awareness and remembrance. Yes, we are all one. And that is the ever becoming state of evolution. We are all one. It doesn't matter what you perceive in your reality, you are creating for you to perceive it. It is the oneness that is threaded to you to say, I am one with that. What is my perspective now to own it and honor it and heal it? And what do I want to play within it? So you get to choose at every stage what part you want to engage with in it, why neutrality is so important. Because if you're not in neutrality, you keep getting sucked back into those energies and cycles of density and programs that do not evolve the soul, do not allow your soul to expand and grow. And why so many light workers are finding now that they're hitting those 3D brick walls, if you will, because there's no more growth to attain. The growth has been done. The growth has expanded in as much as it can. The evolutionary step is to step out of that cycle completely, even though it will be allowing, a temporary goodbye, if you will, because this new cycle will allow others to wake up within what they've been doing and say, now, is there something that I can look at? Because I'd like to perhaps see a different way of becoming, or not. Again, it's always choice. There's an infinite number of choices within every person's perspective. And there is no right or wrong. There is no fast track. There is no racing lane. Everyone has their unique soul temperament, and it's done at the divine soul blueprint level, the highest of the highest levels of who you are as spirit, along with your soul's spirit team, the angels and the archangels, along with source creator, as to what you've designed for yourself in this path. Yes, it can be accelerated, and yes, it can be slowed down based on your ability to receive and allow all that you are to come forward in every moment. If you're suppressing it, resisting it, depressing it, degrading it, any of the things that we've put veils over to stop us from remembering who we are, then that will determine how bumpy your ride will be and how long it will take you. And we say long because there is no real time, because it's all an illusion. Anyway, my trusty sheets. We're making up more illustrations, by the way. Got lots more illustrations to come. The number of sheets that I create in a day is I've got constant. I've got stock. I should really get stock in Staples. It's so funny. I've got papers and stuff everywhere. And it's like so much papers that what paper belongs to what, right? And so I've got to go through all the time and throw away what doesn't. Okay, that's done now. Too funny. And books and papers everywhere. I should have a house of books. Too funny. So what I wanted to talk about and bring forward was this beautiful, strange and unique experience that I had. And I say strange because the personality that I've grown up with, because of the soul experiences that I've chosen to take on through dysfunction and alcoholism and all of those energies that I was here to heal and help others heal as a crystal child, and as a highly empathic child, taking on a lot of energies and belief patterns and projections that were simply not mine, not even understanding any of this until about 14 years ago. And taking the very long process to heal and clear my bodies and my fields from all of that damage, dysfunction. It's been a traumatic experience. And the next book that I write will be that understanding. There'll be more books coming from my experiences the past 5 or 6 years, because it's been the culmination of the entire journey of my life, which I now have great awe and great honor in who I am becoming. We're talking about the soul, and I'm threading this in as the divine mother and the divine father and the divine child in the human perspective of our ownership of it. And why at this point in my life, this next journey and this next phase is not only am I leaving all things that no longer serve and nourish my soul for my own growth, and what has not been serving me, what has been holding me back, and what has been creating that great stagnancy, not only in the cells, but in every way the multidimensional body moves through. If you're held in a stagnant situation of energy, not allowing your soul to press out, then it brings stagnancy on every part of your multidimensional experience. And why our planet as a collective has moved through what it has moved through. And I see and honor now in everything that I've moved through, it allows me to create that micro-macro holographic experience, so that I can always thread it back to the collective perspective, so that we can see in every way that there are grander, divine, elegant plans for all aspects of humanity. It is, however, free choice on our willingness to awaken to it or continue to run the programs of limitation and fear. And those will continue to have those experiences. And there is no judgment, again, one way or the other. There isn't, because it's all required, it's all needed, it's all source. We're in a very important time right now for 2021 to move forward, in that it will be a very creative manifestational year, meaning that everything that we have gone through, all of the tragedies and all of the experiences of loss that we have created, was inspired at a collective level, the collective soul of humanity, for us to really go within and truly deepen our core oneness with source and our soul, the mother, the father, the sacred child that we are, that we have come to earth to experience, express, and explore. Our true value, our true honoring of who we are in that value as an expression. Like, what are our values? How have we been moving in lack of value and integrity of who we are? And why we've had to go through those programs of loss, because we don't necessarily understand it until we've had great loss. When you lose someone that you truly care about because of behaviors and because of experiences that you thought were moved in programs of dense, winning, losing, winner takes all, lower dysfunctional programs, you understand and reflect upon the severity of behaving and moving in certain ways. The only way that we do that is through great loss, great tragedy. So how can we as a collective look at this entire process of 2020 as a beautiful experience for us to say, just as everything that has happened and occurred in humanity, how can we look at everything that has been and truly look at ourselves and place it on the table? What is my truth? What is it? And what am I willing to step out of? The game that I'm willing to step out of and really start playing as spirit. Start playing as spirit. And we say play in the highest vibrational way, not in the egoic way that the ego plays. Games of control and manipulation, or suppression, oppression, all of those things are games that the ego plays. It doesn't often know that it plays those games. Sometimes it does. We all know those that have been in our lives that, you understand at a very subtle level the games that are played. But there is also the plane of the soul, which is that sacred child. That sacred child is pure and innocent and playful. Those of us that have children, that the most joy that a parent can have is seeing the children play in joy. And you see when they laugh and they become so enamored by themselves is play. Like, wow, I'm playing and I'm having fun playing. Mommy, look what I can do. And you just feel them come to life. And that's you as that sacred child that we're here to activate. Those are codes that we activate in remembrance through that clearing and healing process. the innocence of who we are as sacred play. Because again, as we offered yesterday in our video, that sacred child is that required vibration that presses out our evolution. And make no mistake about it, why it's so important that humanity's next generation, the next 10 years, will be focused on the children and bringing them up to a higher frequency of acknowledgement, of awareness and allowance of who they are as the creative beings for our human evolutionary experience. We cannot evolve without them. And if they are placed within systems that dumb down their experience as far as intelligence, as far as limiting their creative expression, then that is limiting the entire universal experience of our evolution, because they're here as masters. Their DNA, their experience within who they are, the soul blueprints that they've come as, is desiring that ache for higher consciousness exploration. And why we're doing them a disservice if we do not offer that in some way. And why it's really important that each and every one of us, as we're moving through our evolution, that we're continually understanding that our cells require light. Our cells require our commandment to call in that greater light, because that light is that code to heighten that oscillation, that speed, so that our body takes on that greater light, so that our body can ever enhance in its ability to accept those codes and songs and stories by releasing the stories that no longer serve. And again, every person will have their unique phase, state, speed. Yeah, everybody is unique. And that's why there will be so many people shifting and changing out of relationships, and they're maybe coming back together. But it's important that everybody understand everyone has a unique pace. Everyone has a unique temperament, and not everyone will be and continue to be at the same cycle of manifestation through their own transformation process. They just won't. These changes are necessary to break away from what was, so that every soul has its unique potentiality to expand within what it was creating. Because that's how awakening occurs. What have I created? What have I created? How does my life look? How happy am I with it? And how can I change? Remember that center point. How can I change so that I can experience this? This is what I really want to experience. And it's okay if it doesn't. Again, there's no judgment. From Source Creator, it's all unconditional love. It's all required. But it's also okay for each and every person to say, I'm ready to break away, and that's my sovereign choice and my free will, and I have the right to do that. I have the right to be nourished. I have the right to be cared for. I have the right to move in my own unique way, and I will. I am the sovereign keeper of my body. So what I wanted to thread in that was, because many of you have been noticing that I've been stepping more into my own power, and I've been stepping more into who and what I know I am. See, throat clearing. When I claim it, it's been waiting eons. As a divine feminine, many of the programs that we're all coming from, and especially as divine feminine, this is a topic that will expand, because as I said, this is brand new. And we can feel it brand new because it feels awkward and weird. And that's why I said a few minutes ago, this awkward experience, because this is new. The ownership that one of my life's experiences was to claim the creativity that I have of speaking with spirit and consciousness, that many and those around me could not see or hear or know. And so part of my creative soul's experience was to own and accept and acknowledge all that I am as being precious, as being rare, and as being a beautiful divine crystalline child that was brought here with many great gifts to share and show others how light can be, to be light, to be happy being light, to shine my light. But in that process of evolution, there was so much anger and sometimes even hatred projected on those that carry great light, that you then become a part of that conformity. And this is what all humanity is moving through, especially the Children's Collective that I've come here to be an ambassador for. Because I am a crystalline child. I'm a part of that collective, but I'm a mother in that collective. So I'm saying in the offering of my story is that how does conformity and all that we've been through as a human evolution affected in every way the human evolution to higher consciousness co-creation in the consciousness of all that is. It's not specific to this earth. It is because if we do not allow ourselves to evolve in light, generation after generation after generation, the cells become to a point of entropy. And my teams have been giving me that for about a year now. They just die off. And it will no longer have a point to evolve. And this is why it's so important that we understand how vital light and love and caring and sharing and compassion are for the evolution of humanity. Because the DNA gets to a point where it can no longer be altered to continue an evolutionary process. And it was written in The Keys of Enoch by Dr. J.J. Hurtak. It's one of my favorite books, and I read it over and over and over again. This is why it's really important of humanity's experience, because we are at the crucible where we just as the micro-macro, the holographic, just as our cells within us, we are that planet that is farthest from the sun, if you will, for human, for consciousness experience within the galaxy and the evolutionary programs of the light consciousness within the heaven light programs, that we are like that catalyst. And if we are not pressing through, reaching up for that highest light as a collective body, micro-macro, then it affects all other experiences in evolution, and why there is so much universal and galactic help assisting us in doing so. And threading it back around, because this is really exciting and powerful. This really awkward and weird experience was that for me, in all of my experience and owning it and claiming it, yeah, I was, as many kids move through that experience of having to move through life and seeing that because being unique and special and their mirroring experience with others feels often weird and unappreciated and unacknowledged as being special and rare and beautiful and valued and belonging. And because that hasn't been a state within our human behavior, it's been, like quarantine, when you're unique and special and you have those creative gifts that nobody else can see or understand, then it's felt like, oh, you're different. You need to, you end up being judged in such a way that you conform to the norm. And that de-evolves the unique beings that they are to come forward and press out for the all collective. I mean, it serves the all, but these are the programs that we're existing within that we're transforming. It's all served. It's all been valued. From my specific experience and co-creative experience, the perspective of the divine feminine, and because of all the lifetimes that I've come with that I can remember and that I'm threading in, and that, as I've talked about on my Facebook, that Master Jesus was showing me, the glyphs that are on my arm and how I wake up every morning. And when I'm integrating those galactic universal perspectives of who I am, the bodies I've held, the information, the intelligences I come with, I have agreed at a soul level because I knew that it would be fun for me, and why I have the markings on my bodies that I do. When I'm integrating a new aspect of me, I have a new glyph on my arm and on my arms and on my skin, because I knew as a visionary, as an empath, as the various ways that I'm able to read multidimensional energy, I knew at a soul level it would be fun for me, and I'm okay with that. And those are the things that we show ourselves to know that we are expansive soul beings, and why you wake up some mornings with a mark that you didn't have the night before. You're integrating aspects of yourself, and your body becomes literally brand new as you accept and honor yourself in that. If you resist it, then that becomes those tormented moments where you're moving in and out of those psyche wounds experiences and continuing those same cycles, and then attracting those that are also in those same vibrational experiences. And I learned that at a very early age, when I had my marking, when the Pleiadians came to adjust my chest. A different story. So I want to go back to the divine feminine. The divine feminine frequency, and because of all the lifetimes I've held, in healing the divine masculine, is the ability to set into action and to be that vibrational yang energy of action oriented. But if the divine feminine is out of balance, she's not claiming her power, and she's not allowing all that she is, because of the programs we've been in, the divine feminine for eons, since one of our most earliest human experiences, the divine feminine has been suppressed in every way. It has. She's been written out of all wisdom teachings. She's been written out of all healing teachings. All of the divine feminine, which now is coming back in to be rewritten because of the divine feminine awakening. It's been awakening for about 10 years now, the importance of the balancing of the divine feminine, and how important the divine feminine energy is to the healing of our own unique bodies. If we cannot receive, opening up for that light, then our bodies will be imbalanced. If we cannot express ourselves emotionally, that emotion to emote is how we create, and why we've seen the world in the way that it is, because we're emoting imbalanced energies. And then again, co-create those experiences of addiction, self-harming, and all the things that we do to suppress those feelings. Can't heal it if you can't feel it, but to feel it is sometimes quite traumatic. But that divine feminine is the experience, and very graciously and honoring that when the male energy is balanced, and the divine feminine is ready to come on, and we've gone through the healing of all those soul fragments that I've integrated. I'm giving this as my own personal experience. And there'll be many other stories as I become to understand it more, because this is just, you know, scratching the surface. It felt awkward and weird because there was great power that I was releasing and calling forward to. I didn't realize this until I was in the process of the release. But what the release was showing me energetically was that there was great power that was being released from that primordial life force energy of the divine feminine, the divine female frequency. It was coming forward and being pulled and being released. In that release, I was shown simultaneously that that power that was positive, that positive primordial energy power, was transmuting with the negative projections of programs that I have been included in that have suppressed the divine feminine. And there was a lot of anger and hate there. And I felt, this has been new that I've been able to tune into this, because I've been practicing the healing process. My multidimensional soul self and my higher self are now allowing me to tune into, when I have releases, how these energies are threading together. And it's really incredible, because then I get to write about it and I get to explain the very fine, beautiful balance that is needed and required, especially those that have been through trauma, so that there is not further pain and damage done in that releasing process. Because sometimes those emotions are quite magnificently negative and dark. And so it's really important that that balance be held at the center as we're going through a really traumatic release. Because there's energies there that you have suppressed. I'm saying you as I'm talking third person, that the higher self of me, that you have suppressed, that have been in programs that you weren't even in, but they were from other timelines. They're from your lineage. They're from your ancestors. They're from those that you've been tangled with deep, deep suppressed, steeped lineage density that held women in such disparaging energies and such hateful energies and such disregard for the feminine body, such disregard for the feminine intelligence, such disregard for the feminine use of, allowing the divine feminine to have her intelligent voice, and for her to come forward and be a leader, and for her to come forward and have her stature, and for her to come forward and shine her light. It's been very degraded and disregarded, as if we were not even existent. And that is very similar and mutable within all other collectives that we've called minority. And this is where I've come to be an ambassador to bring this forward, not in disregard for our past experiences at all, because we wouldn't be able to be here now explaining this in this multidimensional vibrational energetic way unless each and every one of us has come from a co-creator experience and the receiver creator experience from that. Again, those balanced energies coming together to harmonize so that you can now be your powerful self and step into a new. That's why it's so important that we understand that balance. And if we don't own that balance, it cannot come through and be fully harmonized. That's the divine relationship. The crucible within the middle, how has this served me? How has the relationship served me? That from when I was a child, I saw certain codependency, certain disparaging experiences for the divine feminine, and how that affected me so emotionally and so deeply. How women were treated with such disregard, but there was a part within me that felt very powerful because I knew the life force healing energy that the divine feminine had, which was with me today in that release. It was that positive energy of primordial life force that was saying, when you're releasing this, balance it. Because the dark energy that you're releasing is very powerful. Bring it forward with that life for positive energy into this new, now transmutable energy, and that's alchemy. And it's very powerful that we own that when we're moving through our own personal daily self-care and we're allowing ourselves to release, that we do it in a balanced and neutral way, grounding it so that you allow yourself to feel what needs to be felt. But oftentimes, especially with divine feminine and many of the communities that will be releasing their own lineage of pain and trauma, that it's done in a way that is very balanced and loving and nurturing and life-giving, so that those energies can be transformed in a balanced manner. Because we've all seen when those energies are not balanced, it becomes, chaotic. And that's the difference between order and chaos. That has to be that alchemy within, to know that these are powerful energies and these are powerful experiences that we're all moving through. For the divine feminine, and this is why I want to get back to awkward and why I wanted to explain that, because there's so many that go through the healing process and understand what a release is. You know, once a month you just feel uncontrollably sad and, you know, all these energies coming up. There are many, many reasons and why that integration process is so important. Go within and do your journaling, your reflection, your dream reflection, and go within and integrate those wisdoms, because that's where you get to this point here where you can say, wow, I can teach that now. Like, holy cow, I felt it at a multidimensional level. This is really important, you know, so that we honor our bodies. We honor the power within all that we are as spirit. Again, there's nothing that is not all. You know, we've all played all roles. We've all had these experiences. Many of us are here to clear out many of these darknesses and these energies of suppression and imbalance for the collective. And it's important that we understand why sometimes these releases feel so very dramatic and unusual, you know, because we're carrying them for the collective, and we're here to clear it for the collective because we can. We know we can, but we're not told that and taught that. And this is why sometimes energy freaks a lot of people out, and they end up suppressing it for even more and become even more imbalanced. And that's okay. It's a process. This is all new for everyone. So it's beautiful and it's sacred and it's honoring in every way. But what I wanted to say about that, the divine feminine, is that as my teams were just coaching me through it and saying, you're doing great stuff, you know, you're clearing so much darkness, you're clearing so much, just hold your space in the middle, hold your space in the middle, hold your space in the middle, just let it flow and transmute it with your golden light. Transmute it. That's the divine feminine primordial energy. That it was so powerful. I can love it and I can nurture this. I can love it. I can nurture this. The divine feminine is powerful and loving. Divine feminine is beautiful and intelligent. And I'm transmuting it as this release is coming forward. And it was healing. And this is where from my childhood, there was experiences that, you know, for me being that creative experience of who I was as this beautiful empath, as this beautiful crystalline child that could talk to many variations of consciousness that many couldn't see or understand. Because part of my role was to help them awaken to the world that was beyond sight. But, you know, as a little girl, obviously back in the 70s, who knew that? You know, and my story has been beautiful and sacred, and I get it now. And so what's been happening is this release, allowing me to see it from many different angles so that I can be a teacher for, you know, like an intuitive medical, if you will, to see how those energies can really be transmuted to the highest and benefit of those that are experiencing it, and truly take in the lessons and the blessings, that crucible, that divine relationship, and what it held for you. What it held for you is that all of the lineage and all of the ancestors and all of the divine feminine that has had so much hatred projected to them, and no matter how intelligent they were, no matter how creative, beautiful they were, no matter how incredibly powerful they were as healers, not being taken seriously, not being honored in the bodies that they had. I mean, the infinite number of disparaging energies that can come forward from those releases. We all know, you know, there's no secret to the imbalances that we are here to heal. But this is what's so powerful, that primordial energy, is that we bring it forward, we begin talking about it, and begin honoring it. And when it becomes available in our each moment for moment life, so that we can become neutral with it and say, is this honoring me as a divine feminine? Is this honoring me for the voice that I have to allow myself to be expressed, for my unique gifts to come forward? And I'm going to fully own it no matter what is going on around me, because I know that I'm affecting my reality. I know that I create my reality, and holding back and suppressing my voice and suppressing who I am, and trying not to be seen because others are uncomfortable with it. Those are suppressions, whether it's by yourself or you feel from others. And so because you're intuitive and you're an empath, you can kind of feel people's comfort levels. And so it's for the empath to now walk with this bold experience within themselves in a balanced manner, then say that us walking forward in the fullest light of who we are as balanced divine male, balanced divine female, creating in that balanced excitement of who we are as the sacred child, we are in every way pressing out humanity, as well as understanding the very subtle intricacies. There's another word that is complexities that we each come with, these threads, and they're very deep. You know, the release that I had was deep within the root chakra. You know, it was safety. It was the energies that I had picked up since my life here, along with the lineage and the DNA energies of the suppressed divine feminine experience. And they're not comfortable. They're not. They're not comfortable at all, because you can feel within yourself, well, that doesn't feel like me. Like, where the heck did that come from? I absolutely honor and love the divine feminine. But my teams are saying, you are clearing those lifetimes where you experienced yourself in divine feminine, or otherwise in viewing it. If you were a young boy and you viewed your mother being suppressed and depressed and oppressed, and you knew the absolute tremendous healer that she was, but the communities didn't understand it. They weren't awake. They weren't awake. They didn't understand, because this divine feminine energy has been suppressed for eons. And so it doesn't matter what body you take. If it's ready to be healed right now, you're going to call it in through your own personal now experience of this now reality to say, I'm going to start healing my divine feminine, because it is exactly what is required in our humanity right now. Everything in our socioeconomic system is touched by light, and it is required to be brought up to a new balance. And what is required in this balancing system within our human collective right now is the divine feminine and the divine sacred child in every one of our socioeconomic arenas and avenues. Whether it's native, aboriginal, it doesn't matter what we define it as. They're all minority. And that's just what's so crazy. I say crazy in the most divine and sacred way, because it allows us to see that how imbalanced have we been? What has been our truth? We can't begin to fix it if we don't own it. What has been our truth? And how lucky we are to have this divine reset, this divine opportunity and potential that we get to say from here on, from henceforth, there can be no more tragedies in the way that we have experienced them. We are higher consciousness beings, and we get it now. We get it. We are awake to that point. So what can we do in this now moment so that we're not reliving cycles of disparaging experiences, because they damage everyone on every realm. When you come back in the next lifetime, it's something you got to clear. So if it's not being dealt with who you are in this moment, it's being passed down to the generations with your children and with your children's children, and so on and so on. And that is what we talked about earlier, about the cells carrying so much density through the soul's contract, to awaken, hopefully to awaken so that you can clear it. The cells are carrying so much density that it cannot take on that greater light for awakening, and they become in that entropy state. And that serves nobody, the collective of it, because we're all one. Thank you, Source. Thank you, Source. Source. Yay, Source! So it was really a powerful experience, because there's very few experiences. There's very few, and I'm saying this, and as I'm saying it, I those that know us and know our offerings understand the reverence and the honor that we offer everything in, because we've experienced it all. We're saying this because it's so important that we become safe, and we become okay, and we become honoring and beginning to talk about what's going on in moment for moment reality, so that we can change it. So we can change how we feel about feeling suppressed, feeling oppressed. So any moment that you're moving through where your voice is not feeling valued, you're not feeling valued, those are those psyche wounds, that those little tiny threads that you need to call forward and say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. This is how I'm feeling in this moment, and why feeling what you feel is so important. Because if we just suppress it and let it go, because that's the way it's always been, you're carrying those energies, and they're being placed down into the chakras, and that becomes density, and your chakras become slower and slower and slower. And again, it's micro-macro to the cells. It's all energy. Energy is energy. Whether it's a projection from someone else, whether it's a projection from the collective, whether it's a projection from your own unique history, from a memory from childhood, or an akashic or a lineage, that is in you. It's got to be cleared. And why it's so important that we start honoring, moment for moment, how we're feeling. How am I feeling? Did I experience something in my day today that I felt, oppressed and imbalanced? So let me walk through this. I want to get to the middle of this, and I want to feel my primordial energy that can transmute this, because I'm a life giver. I can transmute this. I can receive the energy. I can receive the will and the power of the Holy Creator to know that I have the power to transmute this. If I'm carrying it, I can transmute it. and they're not comfortable sometimes. So ensure that when you're going through a clearing process, especially if you know and you can sense, that it's a deep thing for you, because you can tell, we all carry the stuff that we hold off to the very last because it's a big one, right? Whether it's abuse and trauma in any way, we understand that, we get it. It's not easy, but that's why it's important that we talk about it. We really got to begin to talk about it, so that it's done in an honoring and appreciative and special and balanced, nurturing, loving, tender, gentle care way. And that's what the Divine Mothers have been showing me, because they've been showing me this for a couple of months now, because they knew that I would be working through these divine feminine energies that have felt so very hateful. And through my whole life, I had suppressed so much of those energies that I felt within myself, that I was, with my kids, there's certain words that were just not spoken, right? And hate was one of them, because it's such a damaging word, and those energies are so damaging to the cells. But there was so much that was being carried that I had taken on from others, about even how I was how my creative expression for who I was made others feel anger and frustration and hate, because they didn't understand the light that I carried and how I expressed myself. And that made them feel insecure. That made them challenge themselves about who they were. That's the process of awakening. But many of us here as light workers have come to do that. We've come to be that pillar of light, like Jesus was in his time era. He's lived many timelines, by the way. And this is why when any one person goes back and tries to thread together the life of Jesus, they'll find that there is many discrepancies in the time, because we're switching timelines all the time. He's in an infinite number of timelines with us. And as we awake, just as I talked about the Mayans. Anyway, that's a different topic. But what we wanted to offer is that, and us too, we're on an infinite number of timelines right now. And this is why we can open up to our soul's allness and say that you're healing so much right now. You're in right now. Again, all timelines that you're living is right now. They're all now. It's just that spiral top down effect, right? My papers. Top down effect, right? The top down effect. All timelines are all right now. So as you're healing something for the divine feminine that's going through something right here, right now, another aspect of you that's moving through another body of you that's feeling suppression of divine feminine, and the damages that have been done, whether you're a male or female body, it does not matter, because we're all here healing divine feminine, just as we're all here healing the divine sacred child and the divine sacred male. We're all here healing these energies, all of us, without exception. The divine feminine energy is as time, we call it time, it's just our experience of ourselves in the now body. It's a spiral of experience. So in this release that I had this morning, there was maybe 4 or 5 or 6 timelines of the damaging, oppressive, divine feminine energies that I was healing, along with the akash and the lineage that I've come with. And why, again, it's so very uncomfortable, because you think you're walking around, well, I've never carried those energies before. Well, you actually are carrying, they were just so suppressed. But now it's ready to come out, because you're carrying such greater light that light is calling that forward to be transmuted. But to do it in a way that you're owning and honoring who you are as the commander of your allness, not to do it in a chaotic way that causes distress and imbalance and greater harm, but you're doing it in a way that you're grounding and you're balancing and honoring all that you are. And it was the first time that I had felt that it was quite a strange out-of-body experience, because I was seeing it not only from a multidimensional perspective, but I was also in control of the release of it as well, and simultaneously at the same time, along with the conversation that was simultaneously going on with my guides and my teams, allowing me to see from that multidimensional perspective what was going on, and how, again, it's important that we talk about it. Because as we talk about it, it releases those tremendously discomforted moments, because you've been carrying around those suppressive energies, especially, for those that are healing many tribal energies and native energies, where there's been such great suppression. And again, the children's collective, where there's been great suppression in their creative intelligences, as well as many of the trafficking and the human abuses of their bodies, and not honoring them for the sacred beings that they are as the co-creators and the initiators of evolution. So this is why, again, it's really important that we begin to honor all that we are as the divine, multidimensional, sacred seed of humanity, that each and every one of us are carrying the imbalances of the male and the female for us to completely heal it so that that divine sacred child can co-create these new experiences for New Earth. And why sometimes they do feel uncomfortable and so very challenging for us to face and for us to honor. What was assisting me is that there was nothing more that I wanted as I was releasing and as I was transmuting, is I was claiming in that same moment, because remember, as we release, we reach up and claim for that greater honor of who we are. That's, we're creating those higher light programs to replace what the density that we've just released. So it's really important that we do that. When we're going through a release, allow yourself time to just fully release it and ask your teams, allow me to see when I'm ready to call in greater light. You know, and it's a matter of a minute or two. And then you reach up for that greater light, those greater codes to call in, and you state in your affirmation and your surety and your knowingness what it is you want to experience. Again, pain and suffering is temporary. Your truth is love. Your truth is power. Your truth is the creative Christhood. Your truth is sovereignty. We get to claim and call what it is next I want to experience. I want to experience my full divine feminine power and empowerment, my life-giving energy. I want to choose to co-create in my shamanism. I want to be the best healer I can be. I want to be the best leader I can be. And those are those positive affirmations. As you're reaching for those codes, you affirm new. You affirm new. You affirm new. That's that Christed toolkit that we talked about through that healing process. And again, this is just my, this is my experience of being the intuitive, at a multidimensional experience way that I've brought through my unique healing perspectives and, all of the, the programs and the light that I've created through what I've experienced, because I'm able to see it and feel it at a multidimensional perspective, and the many teams that are with me to bring the importance forward of the balancing of the human multidimensional bodies for the evolutionary potential of humanity, and why all of these collectives within our soul Earth collective are so important that we begin honoring in each moment that we might not feel valued, that our voices might not be valued, that we as people might not be valued, to begin bringing them forward and in gentle, soft, and tender conversation. Because remember, the divine feminine and the sacred child are what is needed most at this time to bring humanity up to the 5D 2021 co-creative experience. Because the divine masculine has been so imbalanced, and they're needing to rest. Really needing to rest. Not that they're not going to be a part of that experience. The divine male has to be a part of that balanced experience. It's all required. But what is required right now for humanity, as we all know and understand, and we see it intuitively, and we feel it intuitively, because each and every one of us come with divine male, female, and also the sacred child, is really needing is that rose gold auric energy color that they were showing me, was the gentleness and the tenderness and the care. That is the divine feminine, the energy that's needed and required, and what has been suppressed for eons, because it's been so aggressively dominated, and it just has. And again, there's no judgment at all, because it's how we're here. We're here now saying that, wow, had I known what was going on inside of me and how much stuff I had taken, no wonder I felt as if my voice wasn't valid, because you're carrying so much of other people's stuff that's not even yours. You want to share your voice. You want to be that powerful being. But what is so important in that is that the biggest part of this story, and I'm saving it for last, but it's important that we went through that process, and how important it is to know that if you're feeling overwhelmed by the emotions that you're feeling, take it bit by bit and do it 4 or 5 days in a row. So really honor yourself and set yourself a schedule to really clear those deep feelings, so that you're honoring the process, that you can ground and release it bit by bit. And just tell your teams, I know this is a really deep energy for me. This is a really deep core wound with me, because we all sense intuitively what those wounds are. And you can say, can I do this over a 2-week process? And your teams will know. And sometimes, like in some of these wounds for me, it's been taking years to heal, because it's such a deep soul wound. And because you're healing it again, a huge, profound collective level. But what was really cool in that whole process was that I was able, as we release, we center, ground, what it is I want to create, where do I want to go, is the calling in new and saying, wow, I get to own the power of the divine feminine. And that felt really awkward and weird, because for eons, the cells, the bodies, the mentalities, the training, the entrainment that we talked about earlier had been so suppressed on the divine feminine's voice, not feeling appreciated and valued and honored. I know it, as I'm saying it, it sounds very strange and weird, But we all know, and every single one of us are here healing the oppressions that we have all experienced in all timelines for humanity. We all feel it. We all feel when we are not valued. And this is what the children's collective feels, not valued. So how can we bring everything up? You are valued. You are precious. You are rare. You are meant to be here. Your voice is important. You are important. You are a star. You are meant to be here. The caring, the nurturing, the gentleness, this is what's required for humanity, for all timelines, for all collectives, for all life. This is sovereignty, so that each person, each voice, each aspect of life has its highest potentiation to be the highest and best for the all. That's powerful. And that was the first time that I felt that, wow, that divine feminine power. Because from my birth till now, it has been all divine male, overworked, exhausted will and energy of that will. No, we can sit back and we can allow life just to be received. But there is still that same similar strength in that divine feminine. Say, wow, I have great primordial energy within me to heal all life. I mean, I just healed some pretty dark energy there. Like, holy cow, what was I carrying, you know? But that's the power, that's the divine feminine power. And it's so incredibly, there's no words. There's no words. And why it's important, again, why it's so important, we just begin talking about it. You know, those little moments that happen throughout the day. How can I own and claim myself? Yeah, this is what I want to eat today, and this is how my body feels good. I'm going to nourish my body today. However it is in your unique way, because there's sometimes they're small and subtle and minor. But those small, minor, subtle experiences are those energies within you that want to be acknowledged and not suppressed and depressed because someone else's particular idea seems more important than yours, or their voice seems more value than yours. No. This is what they told me this morning, is that how you can see, they showed me, they said there's a really important blessing in what you've just moved through. And I was just like, holy cow, that was just so, I'm going to take a couple of days to integrate this. It was just like so profound. And I'm going to have like other videos. I always say that every video. If there was a way someone can invent like a virtual reality video system where when you're experiencing the process of multidimensional reality, it's probably like 20 years down the road, when you're experiencing something like I just experienced, like a video actually captures it in a multidimensional way so that it can be replayed instantly. I mean, I can tell you from what I see and feel because I'm an intuitive and I have those multidimensional capacities. But I mean, even still, I'm missing so much of it because for me, I want to be in every part of it. That's the divine relationship. You know, that fanning out process. I want to be here. And I am there. That's what's so exciting. Where was I? Where was I? It was really, I was going to say something really, really good. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. They were saying there's a really great blessing in what you've just experienced. And I'm just like, holy cow. I'm just like, that was just so incredible. It's going to take me like days to integrate this because it was so, you know, it can't, you know, when you have those moments, and that's why the integration and reflection process is so important, because that's when you see that everything that you've gone through in your history of you, of your story of you, the importance, the value, the beautiful preciousness, the rareness of you, you are creating that story of allness with Source. You become that magical mystery tour with Source. You've healed the past, you're present now, you're creating the new. That is your ascension, and nothing and no one can stop that and be any different than you are the commander and the sovereign being of who you are as Source, the story, the song of Source. That's that crucible moment where, wow, look at me. And you get to claim that, you get to own that, you get to say, wow, this is profound, and I get to stand in my truth. I get to stand in this. I've created this. No one can take that from you. That is only you and Source. And that is something that you own and you can claim for the entirety of all of your evolutionary experience. There's nothing that can be in between that. There isn't. There's nothing. And that reminds me of, you know, that experience with Jesus when he showed me years and years ago of the moments before his crucifixion. And there was a powerful release and purging because he knew within him that it didn't matter what had happened physically, although it was great tragedy and there was great eons of suffering because of that experience. There was that point within him that he knew, that divine relationship, that I know what I know and nothing and no one can take it from me. No event can take what I know as Source from me. It can't be taken. There's nothing that can come between you and source. It's you and source. That moment, that crucible of you owning, wow, this is so beautiful. I'm bringing up this darkness and I can choose to transmute it. I'm choosing to transmute it with my primordial life force of all that I am as the divine feminine. I'm loving this whole, because there was projections on me that those that didn't understand and those that didn't, those that were in their own self-hatred and those that were in their own lack of and less than, you're transmuting it through that divine Lord force. And nothing and no one can take that from you. Nothing. No one can say and claim anything. It just can't. It's your unique soul experience with source. Nothing and no one can take it from you. It doesn't matter what occurs. Doesn't matter. That carries on through the soul of all that Jesus is and was and has soul sharings with the many beings that share his soul. It can't be taken. It's that constant threat of oneness of love. And why the creators had shown me all suffering is temporary. It is not the story that love is. Love is the healer of all that. But that crucible through which all is changed is through love, and is you claiming it for you, through you, because of you, for all creation. And it affects all. And why the suppressing and the depressing of it just prolongs the pain and the suffering. Even though as temporary as it is, because love is all things. And it encapsulates and keeps and stores and threads those stories of love into new stories of love, the micro-macro holographic. And there was something else that they told me, and I'll just end it off as that, because again, it was just so powerful. Oh yeah. The lesson that they showed me was that you don't have to conform. That was that little girl that was sitting on the grass talking to consciousness and talking to the fairies and being with God, that God consciousness that I could talk with and commune with, and the Gaia energy I could talk with and commune with. I could talk with rocks, I could talk with trees, I could talk with the fairies, I could talk with archangels. That beautiful soul energy that is always me, that I'm now reawakening to and calling in to live through me in my beautiful oneness. I can choose and I can teach and I can offer and I can allow through the radiation of all that I am. I don't have to conform. That is the illusion of our reality. We don't have to conform, even at the youngest of ages. And why we as parents and as mothers and teachers and offering as nurturers, you don't have to go along with what anything you see around you. Use the uniqueness of who you are. Use the beauty and the rareness of who you are. Use the appreciation of who you are. Use the honor of who you are. Use the voice of who you are. Use all of your chakras as the representation of this beautiful Holy Spirit, that you are a source. Your expression of creation is you. Use it, be it, live within the honor of it. It is that energy musical dance that is the adventure of you. It's all source, it's all source. There's going to be moments of negative, there's going to be moments of transition, there's going to be moments of reflection, there's going to be moments of integration. It's a constant story of you and source. Be gentle and surrender into that. And know that you don't have to conform and give your power away to energies and beings and societal programs and structures that don't feel right for you. You don't have to. They're all choices. Just like you don't have to engage with energies that don't feel comfortable anymore. You can choose to step off and say, I'm not going to engage in that anymore. I want to engage in this over here. This is exciting for me. This honors my soul. This honors my heart. This honors the creative being that I am. And this is where I'm going to go put my energy and direct my energy. That sovereignty, living in the power of who you are as that divine sovereign being. We each get to choose that at whatever level that each of us is comfortable. Because again, it's a soul's growth process. Why we call those tests in for ourselves. Am I going to stay true to my heart? Am I going to align with source today and be my fullest truth of love and integrity and joy? Because that is a vibration. Or am I going to slip back into old programs because I want to please and appease others? No, people pleasing is done. This is who I am. And all others are going to have to be okay with it in their own unique ways, because they're learning too through their own ability to say, well, why did I feel as if someone had to conform to my energies? No, everybody gets their free choice to be who they are, how they are, in which way they are. It's sovereignty. Allowing that soul, that divine power to say, yes, I am female, I am male, I am the sacred child, I am all that is in balance. I get to be the commander of me. My cells will take on greater light. My bodies will take on greater light. I get to move forward in who I am. And there's great work here to be done. Great will be done in me being me for no other reason. And that is living as the soul. That's a vibration, and nothing and no one can take anything of that from you. That is a vibration where you are living authentically in you. The power of you as balanced male, balanced female, balanced sacred child. You are the expression of you fully as source. That's why we've come. And of course, all the stuff in between is how we get there, right? And taking that ownership. Yeah, it's time for me to heal this. It's time for me to claim who I am as a divine feminine. And it's going to feel awkward because that divine feminine has not had that power in eons. You know, and I said to my kids, and with these conversations have to be had, right? Like putting it on the table and sorting it out. You know, how long is it going to go untalked about? How long is the elephant in the room going to stay the elephant in the room? It's got to be discussed in whatever way that's comfortable for each person. You know, calling in mediators, calling in counselors, whatever needs to be done, right? Because everybody will have their own unique way. But this is how we heal. We can't move forward unless we're feeling and owning it, what has been occurring. It's all going on. So bring it out. Let's heal it in whatever way that we can as a collective. And we will be supported by the heavens because it's what's best for the highest and greatest good. That the heavens will always support highest and greatest good. Always, 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 always. And not everyone can understand that because they're not living from that energy of highest and greatest good. They haven't awoken at that soul level yet. The ego doesn't understand highest and greatest good. That's okay. There's no judgment. But know too that when you're making those decisions to be fully in your power, because it has never been experienced in divine feminine form again, this is new. Divine feminine power has not been experienced. Just like the children collective will experience their new weird awakening when they start feeling the empowerment that they have as children. Because right now they don't have it. It's starting. You see more and more programs, you see more and more things that the children are doing that are catalyzing change. I mean, there's so many incredibly powerful children that are creating websites, that are doing things that are serving the greater good. I mean, these children are masters, they're change makers. So watch out. They're the ones that are setting the way for all other children collectives. Those crystalline children are saying, we're going to change this for the children's collective. We're going to bring the children up to new levels of awareness and awakeness and belonging. And that's that powerful, that you can feel the energy, right? You can feel that empowerment, like, wow, I've had this kind of power. And it's the soul's power. It has nothing to do with ego. And you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. You can feel the difference. There's nothing wrong with ego. Ego is exhausted. It needs to observe. It needs to help you manifest things, but it is not the driver. It is not the compasser of your soul's destiny. It isn't. It's a tool that we use just like the gas. It's a tool that we use. That's it. Your tools for the Holy Christ, for the Spirit, for your 5D and higher consciousness living is light. It is the living light language song of Source. It is love. That's the soul song. That awkward, weird feeling is like, wow, the divine feminine has never felt. You'll feel it as a soul. I'm saying this, and I'm not saying this in a projection that you may or may not feel it. Because again, it depends the gifts that you come with and the story you wanted to experience. Me as the sensitive that I am, I can feel the myriad of reflections that me as the divine feminine are talking with me and showing me and celebrating me in the divine feminine body. And I can feel the beings with me. I can feel the ancestors with me. I can feel the great mothers and sisters with me. So their voices are used through me, and I'm a conduit for spirit. So in a way, I'm saying to you, I'm not sure if this is being made sense. I'm trying to explain it in a way that the words will understand, because I am a multidimensional being and I'm speaking on behalf of hundreds of beings right now. The divine feminine can feel the power of the divine feminine in the awakened state, and it's quite profound and awkward and strange, because we as a collective of divine feminine have not felt that power for eons. And I hope I explained that in a way to do my sacred oneness with all my divine sacred soul tribes. I hope I said it in a way and offered it in a way that honors the divine sacred feminine. And there's celebration, there's honoring going on for the clearings that we do and the honoring that we do in every moment for moment life, even no matter how subtle and minor it is, for you to claim your voice, for you to claim your wants and needs and desires, for you nourishing you as a soul, you nourishing the spirit of who you are, the voice of who you are as the expression of who you are as soul, spirit, and source creator, as a divine feminine. Because the energies that we have as healers, as teachers, as wisdom keepers, as co-creators, as intelligent beings that are setting the platforms for new earth is so, so important. And we're being supported in every way by spirit. There's sacred gatherings, there's communions, there's kinship, and the divine feminine are the ones that bring it forward in community and oneness. And I'm saying divine feminine, even if you're in a male body, because we all have those energies that we just want to bring people together. There's no bearing on the body that you carry. I'm saying this because this is part of my soul story as a divine feminine body, to heal part of the divine feminine energy in our collective. And it's part of my unique story, and I'm claiming it. But it is also, and absolutely in every way, that you will also see divine males in our future, and it has been. There's been many male masters of energy, obviously, because a master cannot be a master unless he's carrying the divine feminine balance. Every master has had to carry that balance and be that balance of divine feminine. They couldn't have been a master without it. I'm saying that in the future years to come, you will see divine masculine, especially politicians and leaders, that will carry a high vibration of divine feminine mastery. That's what's required. It's intuitive, it's healing, it's nurturing, it's caring, it's loving, it's caregiving, it's bringing people together, it's bringing oneness together, it's the medical intuitive. It's all of these gifts that allow that nurturance and that life-giving force for humanity. And there'll be no mistake about when and why and how certain people come forward in leadership. There's no mistake about it. There's such elegance, such elegance. I hope I explained that. I hope I explained that the consciousness, that I come with, oftentimes talking third party and through me as the conduit. And oftentimes I switch back to spirit and speaking through, but I want to also put my story as valid within it because it's me. It's the expression of me, and it's important that I start owning it and honoring it, but also be here as help and nurturance for others that are going through such profound release energies that can be very traumatic and weird and unknown, but are very important in grounding and honoring it, and knowing that that life-giving divine feminine force can heal it, transmute it, and then you call up in those new energies of that sacred divine feminine power. And it will feel awkward and strange because as the collective was showing me, it was the collective, you as the collective, because again, we're one, we're in that 5D reality, we are becoming the soul, we're becoming all. And you can feel it, there's a difference. When you awaken to your allness, your one heart, they showed me this a long time before, but now that my heart chakra is opening, it's being cleansed and cleared, I am feeling the collective energies that I am healing. So this is really, really important that we get that, because as empaths, as people just awakening, you can sometimes run yourselves into mental confusion and depression if you think that what you're moving through is odd, weird, and not normal. Because oftentimes you have not been told or allowed to honor and explore yourself as highly intuitive and empathic, that you're taking on energies that aren't even yours, but you're clearing them, and they can feel so overwhelming, and you can feel as if you're going crazy. Those are the imbalances that are not talked about and understood in our physical, mental, emotionally physical world, where these imbalances and the diagnoses are going on that are not fully understood at a multidimensional level, that we are healing and clearing and bringing forward, so that we can begin honoring who we are as multidimensional beings of holy light, so that we can begin offering different modalities of healing in a multidimensional way, not just a one blanket way of prescribing a prescription, because it's not fully understood. What you're moving through is a multidimensional perspective. And those of us that are at the one heart level, if your heart chakra is closed, it will be hard to feel that. But as your heart chakra opens, your soul heart, your high heart, as your soul and your high chakra opens and clears, you will feel the connection of the collective that you are clearing as an empath. And why it can feel in that one split moment as a multidimensional, hundreds of beings that you're clearing through. That's what I can feel it. And I can feel when the collective joins me and talks with me, they're in, I've always described this as a beautiful stadium podium. It's like this circular, like the philosophy classes I used to be in, 250 people in a circular room, and they were like these benches that go up, and the prof sat in the very middle talking to the whole class. And there was 250 kids trying to make notes and scurry what he was saying, not understanding any of it. But that's how I see my teams. It's this big circular room, and they're just beings that just go up like this, and they're just all around us, celebrating us and cheering us on as we figure it out. We get to figure this out for humanity. We get to create new templates. We get to say what we're moving through. We get to honor what we're moving through. We get to say, wow, how incredible are we to clear 3 to 5D? And we get to own, and we get to claim something new. We get to claim our power. We get to claim our direction. We get to claim our path. That is sovereignty. That's why we came. And the infinite number of beings that are supporting us and saying, holy cow, you guys are recognizing your sovereignty, to come from such density and to be awakened into your sovereignty, to allow the free flow movement of love and of source creators that you get to create as the dynamic being that you are. And those children get to say, what took you so long? The children are looking around going, really? These are the programs that we got going on here? Give me a piece of paper, I'll sort it out. And the children are just like waiting for us. you know, toes tapping. And we're just like, okay, we're trying to catch up here. You know, we just cleared 400 years of depression, you know, but that's what's so powerful. So understand the multidimensional ecosystem. It really is an ecosystem of spirit, and what you're carrying, and understand it in a way that makes sense for you, and allow yourself your unique process and your unique expression of who you are, your unique claiming of who you are as spirit of source, and who you are as a unique being of source. Whether you're healing the male, whether you're healing the child, whether you're healing, usually I've found when you're finished healing the male and female, it's all related to the inner child as well. But then you get to co-create in 2021. That's what I'm sensing as those that have been on the path for a while. That 2020 year is about, 2021 is being the sacred child and clearing and being the being the manifester. You know, that's the engagement. But this year is about us truly going within, and what are our values? What have we held valued? And how has my own personal experience, remember, each of us has to ask these questions and take that path within. There is no fast track on ascension. There isn't. There isn't. It's not a race. It's not meant to be a race. Every soul has to answer and move through those profound moments like I did this morning on Holy Cow. Like, because you can't get that awakening. You can't get that depth of integration. You cannot get that depth of what your soul wanted to experience. My soul needed that. My soul needed that moment. Those 400 years, whatever it was, in tabulation. And for me, as the personality me, there's a small part of me that is intrigued, like, holy cow, how profound am I? But there's the soul of me that just wants to play, and that sacred child just wants to get out and be curious. Now that I've cleared all that density, now that I've said, okay, well, my voice is profound. Yeah, I've got a lot to share. I know what I'm talking about. Nobody can take that from me, right? And it doesn't need to be, because we all have unique divine rights. Those are our rights as sacred beings. It's our birthright. We have rights. Those are our rights as creative, expressive beings. We have the right to be who we are, fully, completely. But what they were showing me was that in that process, your soul, at the soul level, and why, you know, sometimes, you know, I've asked my team, I said, you know, can you just give it to me? Just give me the answer. I just can't seem to break through this barrier here. And your team says, you'll get it. You'll get it. Trust me, you will get it. You will call something into yourself, you know, like years ago, you know, I used to, before I knew what Ascension Awakening was, I used to stub my toe, or I used to fall down the stairs. How many times I sprained my ankle. We do those physical manifestations of injury until we actually sit down and we start going within and asking those big questions. They become those physical manifestations of discomfort and pain until we go the spiritual way and say, okay, I could have done this a much easier way. Didn't have to break my foot 6 times. Just go within and be with source. But sometimes we resist that because we don't want to feel how profound we are. And that was the biggest story that the Divine Feminines taught me, that it felt awkward and weird to claim that Divine Feminine power. But that is what my soul wanted, to feel that profundity of holy, incredible, holy, incredible. Wow. I get to claim who I am again. That is that point of reclaiming your light, reclaiming all you are, reclaiming your attributes of spirit. That is that reclaiming of the soul fragments of all that you've just cleared, reclaiming it, making it whole. That is true self-empowerment. Your crucible with source. Nothing and no one can change that. That is your story. That is your song. And all of creation is changed because of it. The song, the harmonic that you are as source is forever changed. Creation is forever changed. You get it. And that is what is so profound. And I've written about, I've absolutely put this in all my books because it's the part of ascension that just mind boggles me. There is such design, and it's like the physical body is catching up to what the spirit already knows. The soul already knows is why you came, what you wanted. You brought yourself every challenging experience because your soul wanted you to wake up that one morning and say, wow, that's it. I'm living from spirit because that other way is just not working for me anymore. And I absolutely get it. I get it. I get it. And this is the only way that I really want to move forward now. There will be that movement of always the infinite and the eternal that is source, ever throwing those images and experiences at you, because that's what your soul wants, that juxtaposition to stretch out and press out and create source. But you can no longer live from those ego experiences of limitation because you absolutely understand the profundity of who you are as a soul. That's the living as the soul. It's the profound radiance that forever in gratitude of who you are as spirit. I don't have words. There's no words. My life, I have, again, but I get to offer it in teaching and honoring, in hopes that somehow some part of that made sense. And just know that the healing process allows you to awaken and call in those aspects of you that are so utterly waiting for you to call in and say, that's what I was waiting for. Wow, I feel whole again. And while we said in our post this morning, thank you, Mario, for posting all those beautiful articles of ours, that when you remember who you are, there's infinite love and wisdom and love and blessings and all of the things that we truly create that inner peace. And that's what's really important, and why we've gone through this collective reset. The only thing that really matters is inner peace and love, because if without that, there's nothing, as we've seen. Everything is just icing on the cake. But without inner peace, and just going to bed at night and saying, wow, I could have nothing, but my heart is at peace. And nothing else matters. You don't go and do the race just to make that next buck, as we've talked about before. I've never offered anything I have for it. There's never been any intention to make money on anything. It will. Source will provide me. Source will provide me that avenue for those experiences for me, because it's important for me to also have that full human experience. But when you know that you're at peace and you're being your full authentic self, you're being that experience of who you are as source, you are being all that you are as that beautiful creative genius, source will ensure that all of those aspects and the cherry on top will be offered, because you've done the work. You've been that journey, no shortcuts. You've been the journey. And those are the vibrations that nothing and no one can take from you. It's truth. And I can explain it in an infinite number of ways, because I've had the vibrational experiences in an infinite number of ways, as long as the reality infinite experiences. But it's important, because there's an infinite number of people that will be awakening. And there's an infinite number of people that will need their own unique perspective and the codes within it to say, okay, so what I'm going through is normal. So how can I break it down for me? How can I live my best? How can I heal what was? How can I imagine something profound and great, knowing that I'm precious and I'm rare and I am unique and I am sacred, and it's okay for me to shine. It's okay for me to be me. It's okay for me to feel valued. It's okay for me to know that I'm precious. And what next? All suffering is temporary. And you can jet out to something new as you claim and you own and you honor all that you are as spirit. And in doing so, the physical, mental, emotional, etheric bodies become healed, and you become centered, and you become balanced and in harmony of all that you are as divine male, divine female, understanding the ego. Ego doesn't take over. Ego just sits back. Ego's there for you when you need ego. And you're loving, and you're honoring. In all situations are neutral. It's all source. You don't have to fear or run away or have the power games, because it's all source. You can detach. You can choose when to engage and when not to engage, and just be the observer. And that's power. That's walking as the master. And the divine feminine is owning and claiming that power. I can transmute it. And I'm bringing that to the collective. So powerful. So powerful. I'm so honored. Thank you, divine, the heavens. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. So grateful, so honored. And just know that everything that you are a beautiful sacred gift. And you're being bathed by the heavens, the heavenly source light, the creator source light. When you stand within your pillar of who you are, you're continually offering yourself to creation. This is my offering, creation. This is when you feel those divine miracles that come through to you. When you've done the work and you've done the very best that you can to be in truth and integrity of who you are, that joyful child. For again, remember, as we've always said, for any other reason, just to be joyful in being you. You offer creation the gift of who you are. And that's when miracles live through you, because you get it. It has nothing to do with anything about getting. Those miracles are a part of you offering who you are authentically, purely, richly, deeply, with great authenticity, with great purity, with great knowing that somehow, some way it will play a part in the puzzle that is source. It's not for us to figure out and for us to manipulate and to have those energies of how is this going to serve, how much money am I going to make, all that. It will come to you. It will sort itself out. Being in that vibration will keep you in those vibrations and keep you holding back. You will not fly and soar as source. When it's done as the living as the soul, you're imbuing you who you are as the soul. That cherry on top will continue to offer to you in that knowing, as my name is. I know what I am. And I have an infinite number of things that I'm able to co-create. And I have an infinite number of ways that I am able to manifest whatever it is I need to manifest. It will come. I absolutely know that. And why Jesus was able to manifest what he did. The miracles that he manifested was that exact experience, living as soul, living as source, living as love. There was no ego motives. There wasn't. That's mastery. But we have to go through that, right? We have to know when it feels like ego and motives and fear-based control systems and winning, losing, and all of those energies. We have to feel and understand that when our voices have been suppressed, when our voices have not been honored, when our bodies have not been respected. Those are those things that we take on. We say, yes, I own that. I allowed that to happen. I allowed that person to talk to me in a disrespectful way. I'm not being nourished in this way. You take ownership of it. You're accountable for it because it's your reality. And you can choose to say, now I choose to be accountable. Now I choose to feel respected. Now I choose to feel honored. Now I choose to use my voice. And we're honoring that and emulating that to the children so that they can stand up and say, no, my body needs to be honored in this way. My voice needs to be honored in this way. And I will speak truthfully and lovingly and caringly. This is how the micro-macro holographic becomes honored and valued in the very dynamic collective healing that we're all doing. And again, it's just my personal experience. Everybody will have their own unique way of healing. But just understand that from that micro-macro, that multidimensional experience, you can feel and move through these experiences in the ways that you can, and why the next coming of the future human experience will be the rebalancing through the divine feminine and the sacred child for these evolutionary pressing out. So exciting, yay! So thank you, dear lighted ones. And I'm just going to show this beautiful card. These are some of my very favorite cards. The Legacy of Light. So thank you for enjoying part of my story. These are my personal stories, and I speak authentically and truthfully from my heart and purely and soulfully with you. So I'm always in great honor for all those that have been with us for so many years. There's so many of you that have been with me from the very beginning. I'm so grateful for all of you. I feel your hearts with me. I'm so grateful for all of you. I love you. And each of you know who you are because you text me and you email me. Trust yourself in the beautiful colors of all that. You're a beautiful rainbow. You're beautiful. You're pure. You're precious. You're precious. You're precious. Precious. This always reminds me of me because I was able to talk with animals and spirit from a multidimensional perspective. So I really treasure this card and this beautiful artwork because it reminds me of all the lifetimes that I've had as being a conscious communicator with spirit in all ways, and why there's so many. When I'm outside with nature, when I'm outside with animals and nature, they just flock to me because I have that ability to talk with nature and animals, and why that's part of been my healing as well when I was younger. Was because my expression of who I was not accepted. And so that allowed me to be conformed from my own choosing. And why they told me this morning in my clearing was that you don't have to conform from here on out. You know your power. You don't have to conform. Doesn't matter who's around you. It doesn't matter what occurs. You can choose not to conform. And it's a powerful lesson for every single person on this planet, because we are here to create sovereignty. The only way to do that is to not conform to what feels uncomfortable or not right, not in alignment with our soul. We know that. We know when it feels not right. So own it. This doesn't feel right to me. I'm not going to conform. I'm doing my own thing. And so that's so important with the integrity of who we are as souls. What doesn't feel right, whether it's a politician, because that's the intuitive bodies. All that we are is intuitive beings that are turning on. Whether you're walking in a room and you feel those energies don't feel right, honor it and walk out. I tell that to my kids. Trust what your body's telling you. Trust what you're feeling and sensing. If something doesn't feel right, own it. That is your intuitive. That's your God sense. That's what Jesus and all the masters walk with. Those are all the things in the bodies and the fields that are showing you and telling you what to pay attention to. Honor it. Because when we're not honoring it, that's what ends up in those situations that are damaging. Those are the mistakes that we have to heal. Not really mistakes. You end up learning from them, at some point, but they don't have to be damaging, right? The legacy of light. Remember, we're preparing for the children. We're preparing and clearing these densities and these traumas from the divine feminine, divine children, and divine minority groups from all timelines. So be fully who you are, trust who you are, knowing that you're creating your own legacy of light. And what that legacy of light means for you. What is your legacy of light? What story do you want to tell? And why our videos this morning, I think it mentioned that. What is your story? Know that you're profound and precious and rare. You are profound, you're precious, and you're rare. Your voice is needed. You are needed. You have a unique story. You are authentic. You are pure and true for you. So honor it. Source is your voice. Source is love. That inner peace is so important. And it is the center point of all healing and health and wellness. Because without our health and wellness, there's nothing. We can't get up out of bed to do anything. And so many of us are experiencing those of our loved ones that are moving through transitions and moving through health transitions and traumas. And so we're all feeling it and honoring it in our own unique ways. Why it's, again, so important to own and acknowledge our allness as multidimensional beings, as divine beings, that we can heal our bodies and we can heal who we are as a collective. Because we are all precious and we are all rare. And that is the divine. I'm so grateful to be a part of this beautiful divine collective. I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. And I want to thank each and every one of you. I love you so much. And I hope that this is honored and helped those that are moving through experiences of owning and claiming who they are, whether it's a divine male or divine female. It doesn't matter, because it's all one in different expressions, right? Every moment we're experiencing that, to rebalance it and bring it to the forefront in an honoring and gentle and loving and nurturing way. Always, always. That's living as the soul. So thank you, dear lighted ones. We love you. Bye. Bye. Go be shiny.